Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, in the super secretive world of North Korea, there's one figure who is stepping out of the shadows in a big way. She's been called her brother's most trusted advisor, and yeah, the world's most dangerous woman. So today, let's dive into the story of Kim Yo-jung. Whenever you see those massive military parades in Pyongyang, or really any official event, there's a figure who is always just there, standing right behind the supreme leader, a constant, quiet presence in her brother's shadow. And that woman is Kim Yo-jung, his younger sister. I mean, you see her in every meeting, every ceremony. She's seen handling his documents, sometimes even his ashtray. She is the quiet manager behind his absolute power. For the longest time, the world just saw her as an assistant, right? But experts warn that behind that smile is a much, much darker reality. She is a figure we should not be underestimating, not at all. So the big question is, how did this once hidden sister of a dictator suddenly emerge as his potential successor and, frankly, a figure of global concern? Let's trace her path, from total secrecy to the brink of ultimate power. Her story, and you might find this surprising, doesn't begin in some grand palace in Pyongyang. Nope. It starts in total secrecy, thousands of miles away, in Europe. Okay, so she was born the youngest child of North Korea's then-leader Kim Jong-il. Her exact birth date? That's still a state secret. Her early life was all about this weird mix of incredible privilege inside an isolated compound, completely cut off from the harsh realities of her own country. Now get this, in 1996, she gets sent to a public school in Switzerland. Her alias was Pak Mi-hong. She and her brother pretended to be the kids of diplomats, living in a pretty normal apartment. But their life was anything but ordinary. They were watched 24/7 by officials and bodyguards. And it was this shared experience, this total isolation in a foreign land, that forged an unbreakable bond between them. So after she gets back to North Korea, she doesn't just fade into the background, not a chance. Instead, she begins this quiet, really calculated climb through the ranks of the regime. And her climb was seriously fast and super strategic. After we first see her publicly at her father's funeral in 2011, she quickly goes from managing her brother's travel plans, a job that requires absolute trust, to becoming a vice director of the state's propaganda department. She literally became the architect of her brother's public image, carefully crafting it to look just like their grandfathers, the founder of the nation. For years, the world just saw a smiling assistant in the background. But in 2018, that whole perception started to crack, revealing the real power she had been hiding all along. Her big international debut was at the Winter Olympics in South Korea. And this was historic. She became the first member of the Kim dynasty to set foot there since the Korean War. She had this soft smile, delivered a secret letter from her brother, and completely charmed the world's media. It was a masterclass in presenting a new, softer image of the regime. But just 2 years later, after diplomacy with the US fell apart, this was the kind of language she was using. The change was just stunning. When her brother disappeared from public view in 2020 and rumors were swirling that he was dead, Kim Yo-jung stepped right into that silence. Her first solo statement was a blast of pure aggression, basically telling the world, don't worry, someone's ready to take charge. And from that moment on, her public statements have become a weapon with a level of vitriol that, honestly, often goes even further than her brother's. The language she uses is deliberately provocative and brutal. I mean, calling South Korea's president America's hungry dog, or Joe Biden an old man with no future, those aren't just insults. No, they're carefully crafted threats, designed to project absolute strength and intimidate anyone who might be a rival. And her power isn't just talk. She's been linked to acts of just extreme brutality. It's alleged she ordered the execution of her own uncle for, get this, disrespectful clapping. She's connected to the assassination of her half-brother, and she personally ordered the demolition of an office that was built as a symbol of peace with the South. These incidents paint a pretty chilling picture of a leader who uses fear as a primary tool. So this calculated rise, this display of ruthless power, it all leads to one critical question. What is her endgame? Well, a lot of North Korea watchers now believe all signs are pointing to one conclusion: she's the designated heir. Right now, she is the undisputed #2 in the regime. Think about it. It used to be that only the supreme leader issued official statements. Now, she has done it over 40 times. She's a full member of the highest decision-making commission, and this has led some experts to call her not just an advisor, but a female co-dictator. Look, history has seen its share of ruthless female rulers, right? From China's Empress Wu to Europe's Bloody Mary. But there's a chilling, very modern difference here. Jong combines this alleged ruthlessness with control over a nuclear arsenal. And she presides over this hermetically sealed state where any kind of dissent is just impossible. And that brings us to the final, really unsettling question. The woman who was once dismissed as a silent assistant is now one of the most powerful and unpredictable figures on the entire world stage. And we can only watch and wonder. If and when she takes full control, will she be even more ruthless than her brother? Is her incredible story of ascent just the beginning of a much more terrifying chapter?